Hi everyone, thanks for coming along. I would like to welcome you to the State Memorial Service to celebrate the life of Vilmos Milisits. We know him as Vili, of course. And I would like to extend a particular welcome to Vili Milisits, who's up there in the royal box. I can't see you, but I know you're up there, and family. His Excellency, the Honourable Hugh Van Lay, Governor of South Australia, the Honourable Stephen Marshall, Premier of South Australia, parliamentary representatives, former governors and premiers, the Lord Mayor of Adelaide, friends, relatives and associates, and Michael Pratt. I know you're out there, Pratt. And I would like to acknowledge the land we meet on today as the traditional lands for the Kaurna people, and we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who can, would you please stand for the Australian national anthem?
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is girt by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty rich and rare. In history's page let every state advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair. Beneath our radiant southern cross we'll toil with hearts and hands to make this commonwealth of ours renowned o'er all the lands. For those who come across the seas, we've boundless grace to share. With courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair. In joyful strains then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. Please be seated. Who didn't sing the second verse? Look, losing a loved one is of course tragic, and the sadness can be crushing, but I'm just wondering if Vili's looking down, would he not want us to smile at his memory and to celebrate his life and achievements? Because he definitely knew how to have a good time. He loved to laugh, and the laugh was infectious. I'm sure he'd want us to be happy, not sad. So there will be a modified Vili rap, but no exotic dances, okay? It's an amazing story, one of enterprise and hard work. He had a unique and a fierce desire to succeed and create a prosperous and happy life for his family, and he certainly did that. Vili's family came to Australia as refugees from Hungary during the uprising of 1956. And our great country provided him and his family with a second chance, and he lived his life with a determination to give something back. He had an affinity with the working class, and he identified himself as one. He was an extremely proud South Australian and a remarkable ambassador for this state. And undoubtedly, he had a special touch of magic. Indira Gandhi, the late Indian Prime Minister, a trailblazer herself, once said, "The only magic is hard work, clear vision, iron will, and the strictest discipline." Hard work, clear vision, iron will, and the strictest discipline. Now, Vili had all of that, but he had something else that was even more magical. He had compassion. He genuinely cared for people, and he had almost boundless generosity. He kept giving back. Both Rosemary and Vili were recognised for their service to the community and the food industry with the Medal of the Order of Australia.
I came to Australia as a refugee, 10 years of age, and I was poor and hungry. I didn't like either.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm is a golden sky, and the sweet silver song of the lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Now, would you please welcome to the stage a man who's shared a special relationship and a common bond with Vili, a man who similarly escaped an oppressive regime and made his way to Australia in the most dangerous manner. It's our Governor of South Australia, His Excellency, the Honourable Hugh Van Lay.
It is my great honor to speak at this state memorial service for Vilmos Vili Milisits. As a refugee who came to Australia to build a new life, I always felt a strong kinship with Vili. I admired him for his entrepreneurial vision, remarkable work ethic, enduring humility, and his great love of family. Many here today will speak about many attributes which made up his great life. His big personality, sense of generosity, and insightful business instinct. I would like to shine a light on his outstanding contribution to our multicultural community. Australia is well known as a land of opportunity, and Vili passionately grabbed those opportunities with both hands. His is an inspirational story of how multiculturalism has helped shape our nation economically, culturally, and socially. Many would be aware that the Milisits fled Hungary following the uprising in Budapest in 1956, when Vili was a young boy at the age of 8. They were part of the wave of refugees escaping tyranny and finding sanctuary here in Adelaide, arriving to build a new life with little more than hopes and dreams. They had to start out with like many other new migrants and navigate the many overwhelming challenges of finding a new home, learning to speak a new language, adjusting to new ways of dealing within the different civic system, accessing new services, and embracing a new way of life. Vili left school at 14 to work as an apprentice in a cake shop to bring money into the family. He rode his bike each day from Campbelltown to Kenttown. There he gained the skills which, combined with his incredible determination and sheer hard work, provided a strong foundation for the future. Just 4 years later, he bought the business, a springboard for a company that would later become a great icon in our state. I'm told that Vili would often say that he knew what it was like to be poor and hungry and never wanted to experience that again. So he appreciated and grasped the opportunities this nation afforded him and helped build our state. This was recognized when Vili was the winner of the private sector section of the inaugural Governor's Multicultural Awards in 2008. But 14 years before that, in 1994, he received the Ethnic Business Award. Once he learned of plans of Australia to take refugees from the Middle East and Balkans and recognized a need for halal-baked goods, a mixture of compassion and opportunity. So like so many, Vili and his dear wife, Rosemary, have always shown a generosity of spirit in wanting to give back to the community. They have done so as a proud supporters of many charities, community, sports, and the arts, which both of them were recognized with the Medal of the Order of Australia, OAM, in 2005. Vili was unstinting in sharing his skills and lifelong learnings to various government boards, awards, and employment schemes. Ladies and gentlemen, to me personally, Vili has always been an inspiration, a shining light in our community. Vale Vili, you have done your family, your heritage, your state proud. Rest in peace. We will dearly miss you. Thank you.
The 56 uprising and the revolution in Hungary, my father was persecuted by the socialists. We had to leave. It was very difficult to leave because we just had a pretty well new house, comforts were just coming in, and all of a sudden you have to up and leave everything. I lost my dog, my constant companion. you know, and he howled as we left because he was everywhere with me. That was my greatest loss. We arrived by ship from Trieste to Australia. We ended up in Melbourne docks the same night, put onto a train overnight from Melbourne to Adelaide. We come from Central Europe, lush, green. All we saw was desert, dry, kangaroos and rabbits. We thought they'd taken us to some desert, you know, and my mother cried, where are we going to end up? I came home one afternoon about, I was 14 years of age, just finished first year high. And my parents said to me, Vili, Dad's sick. You and your brother, 16, were the last two left home. He got an apprenticeship as a panel beater and I went as a pastry chef. When I finished my apprenticeship, 3 weeks later, I decided that to venture out and lease some equipment and venture into my own business. Now, today, I employ over 300 people nationally. When you look at these people, I'm trying to not just improve my lifestyle. I honestly believe that I'm trying to improve their lifestyles. I love to be on the ovens. That's everything that comes through the bakery that's made here is baked. So I position myself mostly around the ovens and I can see if it's not right, smell if it's not right, and of course the ultimate is taste. If you want to run a bakery or food premises, you have to be on the floor and you have to see what's happening around you. And you have to instill into your staff the passion that you have to make this product correct or make it well. And every time, it's easy to make 100 pies a day. Try and make 50 or 100,000 a day, all the same. If you ask a genuine refugee, they love this country more than the very people who actually came here originally, right? Because we had a second chance in life. So we're willing to give something back because this country has given us so much.
Oh, wow. Incidentally, the dog survived. Talked about the dog losing his dog. It was tied up when they escaped across the border, but a Russian soldier adopted it and trained it. So it had a happy ending, as sad as that might have sounded. And didn't we love seeing Vili at the ovens and always making the chips there? And because of his early life, Vili was acutely aware of those less fortunate. Vili's family bakery has generously supported their local community for many years, and that includes dozens of charities and sporting clubs across Australia, especially his beloved Norwood Footy Club. And who doesn't love the Norwood Footy Club? Even those of us who at times suffered under their dominance. Okay, the 70s weren't a good decade for us. But he also had a love of the arts. He loved live theatre and he was a generous supporter of the theatre we're here in today, and that's why we're here. So I would like to take the opportunity to thank the Amicus Strings, the musicians and the singers who are performing for us this afternoon. How good when you soared into the rafters, it's amazing. Now look, we're about to hear The Lord Bless You and Keep You by British composer John Rutter, and that will be followed by some words from Father Sean.
Lift up the light of His
We all can be in awe of the seasons of nature, with our autumns and our springs, and our winters and our summers. But also we have the seasons of our lives. We have the good times and the bad. We have the sickness and the health. And we have the joys and sad moments of our journeys. And no matter how common these elements are to each of us gathered here today, they are in fact totally unique in the way in which they unfold in our own personal lives. And it is through the seasons of our lives that we're challenged. And each of us is challenged to become the person we're meant to be. And today we thank Vili for becoming the person that he was meant to be in the seasons of his life. Now, back in 1965, a group called The Byrds brought out a beautiful song called Turn, 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 or There Is a Season. And it's a reflection on the seasons of humanity. And they plagiarized the words from one of the oldest books in the Bible called the Book of Ecclesiastes, where it's God as our creator reflecting on the seasons of humanity. Now, I'm not going to sing the song to you this afternoon because it's not St. Patrick's Day and I haven't had a Guinness yet. But I would like to reflect on the words with you through the eyes of our creator, because he tells us that for everything, yes, there is a season. And there is a time for every matter under heaven. But there is a time to be born, and there is a time to die. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. Times to tear down and then times to build up again. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. There are times to cast away stones and times to gather stones together again. There are times to embrace, even times to refrain from embracing. A time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. There are times to keep silence, and then times to speak out again. But most of all, our Creator tells us there is time to love. And we're here to celebrate the loving times that Vili has shared with each and every one of us in his own personal way. I guess we all have our own definitions of love at moments like these. I know that when my mum and dad were married for 40 years, I had the privilege of speaking at their wedding anniversary. And I said for me, in that moment in time, the definition of love was to still see mum and dad walk down the street hand in hand after 40 years of marriage. And my father, being a quiet Irishman, got up and said I was a romantic. The only reason he was holding on to mum's hand as they walked down the street after 40 years of marriage was she had the money, he just wanted to see where it was going. And I can assure you, Vili and Rosemary have had many of those moments. So I had to go back to the drawing book of love, and I once asked Mother Teresa of Calcutta, as an outstanding gift to humanity, how she saw love in the world of today. And without hesitation, she said, what a wonderful world it could be if the children of today could only grow up believing and seeing that they're the living reality of love. What a wonderful world it could be. And when Mother Teresa said something to you, went away and reflected on it, because she was a profound understanding of life and humanity. And what she was sharing with me in that moment in time, that in fact when our parents hold us in their arms for the first time, they have their hopes, their visions and their dreams for each and every one of us. And for those hopes and visions and dreams to become a reality, they have to be our first teachers of love by what they say and do for us in the journey of life. And so today we honor the family of Vili, the family in which he grew up and first experienced that wonderful gift of love. We thank his family for making him lovable. Otherwise, they would have never got him off their hands and he never met Rosemary and begin his own family of love. And so we honor his family today. And that's what Vili would want us to do, first of all, to honor the family. His loving wife, his brothers and sisters, his daughter, his son, his grandchildren, and all those who became part of his family tree, his family forest. The second circle of love we belong to is friendship. Quite often we hear people say we can't choose our family. Yes, we can choose our friends, so choose wisely. I like to replace those words wisely with choose lovingly. If somebody dares to place the highest sense of value on the friendship and love we offer to them, then we have found a true friend. And if we place the highest sense of earning the friendship and love they return to us, the circle is completed. So for all of us who have shared that wonderful bond of friendship with Vili, we thank him for that gift today. I thank him for coming into my life, him and Rosemary, when I was parish priest of Hindmarsh. It was a very poor parish back in the 80s, and very often in the evening time, or every evening, I'd have homeless people knocking at the door looking for money or looking for something to eat. And Vili found out about this, and suddenly he said, well, look, he's a man of perfection. He said, sometimes my pies and pasties don't turn out the way I want them. You can have those to give out to the poor and the needy. In fact, he would ring me, and when I heard the song on the telephone to Glory, I knew I was in for a good deal. I don't know if he was making a deposit on his eternal life, but he was making certainly a gift to the parish and to the homeless people. From that, because of the regular supplies that we had, and sometimes he'd ring me and say, get off your knees, you've had your supply this week, I need some myself. And because, again, of the numerous gifts of generosity of pies and pasties, on Sundays, on Saturdays and Sundays, I had a caravan on the church grounds, and we used to sell Vili's pies, pasties and sausage rolls to raise money for children born with HIV in Thailand. The one condition was, he said, I don't want you to tell them that they're my pies and pasties and sausage rolls, they're between you and I. And then, of course, we welcomed the Vietnamese community into the Hindmarsh Parish back in the 80s because they had were really big to worship. And when they saw me selling pies and pasties and sausage rolls, they said, can we sell fresh vegetables out the back? So you got your pies and pasties in the front, you got your fresh vegetables before you went home. I don't know if the collection went down because of that, but that was his nature. And finally, the final circle of love we belong to is nature, creation. And he had a wonderful affinity with nature and creation. And he had a one-to-one with his Creator in that regards. And that's all that our Creator wants of us. Just like we have one-to-one with our families, just like we have one-to-one with our friends, our Creator loves his one-to-one with us as well. And we thank you, Vili, for those 3 circles of love which you honoured in your own special way. And I'm sure, as we gather today, we know a new journey has begun for him. So he would say, please don't just think of me as gone away. Yes, now another journey for me has begun. Life holds so many facets. This earth is only one. So he says, please think of me of resting from the sorrows, pain and tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days or years. And think of how I would be truly wishing that each of you now know today that nothing but our sadness and our sorrows really passed away. So please think of me of resting in your hearts that I have touched, for nothing loved is ever lost, and I was loved so much. So thank you, Vili, for the memories. Thank you for the journey.
Thank you, Father Sean. Now, this is the tricky part. Rosemary was very keen for me to tell you a story from Vili's soccer career, okay? He played for West Adelaide Hellas, which is unusual in itself, I guess, a Hungarian playing in a Greek soccer team. And the story includes a crude word that may be offensive to some, but Rosemary's in charge. She outranks the governor and the premier. Nick Pantelis, who became a soccer legend here in Adelaide, was a young man who just immigrated from Greece. And he was invited to a soccer match between West Adelaide Hellas and Burkalla down at the Camden Reserve. And I think our captain, Peter Siros, is here somewhere. Peter? Are you, Peter? I think. I was told he was. Now you have to understand, Vilmos anglicised is William and Vili is Bill. So to his soccer teammates, Vili was Bill. So Nick Pantelis is standing on the sideline, this young, shy man from Greece, and they've asked him, did he play and would he like a game? And he said, yes, they found some footy boots for him. Awkward, no, they weren't soccer boots, they were footy boots. And he played. So in the first half, the captain noticed that every time Nick went close to Vili, Vili got quite agitated. And at half-time, as they came, Vili stormed off. And he stormed up to Peter and said, "If that new bloke tells me to piss off one more time, I'm going to deck him." And Peter said, No, Bill, no. Pisso in Greek means pass it back. Pass it. So I'm told the score was 2-2. Nick Pantelis kicked the equalising game, but these guys remember this, so I don't know how they remember it. Nick went on to be one of the greats, and he and Vili played their last games together in a reunion match in 1997. But as a businessman, Vili challenged the norm. He always looked to do things smarter and better, and if you didn't have that mindset, you were going to go backwards. That was his attitude. He worked long hours, we know that, and if someone said he couldn't do something, it made him more determined to prove them wrong. Vili employed over 300 people nationally, and as we know from visiting the cafe, he was not just their boss, he worked alongside them. I would now like to invite Andrew Killey, co-founder of KWP, the advertising agent, and a long-time friend, to the stage. Andrew?
Why would a Hungarian refugee called Vili want to become an Aussie pie maker?
That was the opening line of the first ad we ever did together 30 years ago. Death-defying stuff. But it posed a very good question. What would a bloke called Vili know about making a pie? Bloody everything. You only had to ask him, and he'd tell you. Vili and I made many, many radio ads together. We'd sit in the front room of his home, Northgate House, with a recording engineer and an obscene amount of tape and a great bottle of red wine from Vili's cellar. I used to call Vili's cellar the magic cave. The engineer would roll the tape. I'd ask Vili one question and off Vili'd go. Vili and I both had a job to do. He'd talk, I'd listen. And clearly it was important I didn't finish my job before he finished his. I had to keep my ears open for Viliisms. It was like panning for gold. Every now and again amongst the mangled English, Vili would throw in a shining verbal nugget like, machines can't taste. If it ain't got the V, it ain't me. Flaky pastry. I've started a revolution. I've put meat back into the meat pie. Good on you, Balfours. Taste the difference. My favourite was, my chili Vili dog burns both ends. Folks, I've written many ads in my life, but there's no way on earth I could have written those lines. Those memorable lines only came from Vili's fertile mind and his passion for products. Vili would often say to me, my English often fails me. Probably. But you always knew exactly what he meant. Vili was a great communicator. In 1991, the jaws of the recession we had to have were still biting hard. But it didn't stop Peter Withy, Sharon Cookson and me from starting an advertising agency that became KWP. What could possibly go wrong? Vili and his partner in life and business, Rosemary, were one of our earliest clients, thanks to the introduction of my friend Michael Pratt at the Norwood Football Club. In many ways, the growth and reputation of both our brands worked because of each other. We had a similar business ethos, energy and vision. We were builders. We were trying to build something. We actually liked each other. We enjoyed working together. We had fun. And we were both manufacturers. Vili manufactured food and we manufactured ideas. I've been in marketing and communication most of my life, and I can say without a fear of doubt, Vili is the most natural, talented and instinctive marketer I've ever met. He didn't have a marketing degree, but he had the world of innate marketing savvy that usually is only found, and mostly only found, in people that have come from poor backgrounds. He didn't learn from lecturers, he learned from customers. He didn't follow traditional marketing curriculum, he created his own. He was brave, driven, and slightly mad. We got on like a house on fire. Why was Vili successful at business? Well, he was a stickler for a quality product. Achieving quality was a daily obsession. He never, ever took shortcuts. He never stopped innovating. And he had a dynamic partner in Rosemary who was everything Vili wasn't. A couple of stories to demonstrate some of those points. Excuse me, I'm dribbling. Butternut, so important in his legendary pasties, doesn't grow easily in Adelaide in winter. So he did his own research and investigation, and he sent seeds from his preferred butternut variety to a grower in Alice Springs to plant on a farm where the soil was warmed by artesian water that bubbled to the surface and the vegetable thrived. The butternut supply chain was assured. Thank you, Jesus. In the late 80s, as the mix, and we've heard the Governor refer to this, as the mix of migrants coming to Australia changed and it included refugees from many parts of the world of Muslim faith, Vili saw an opportunity. In that context, Vili became the first Australian manufacturer to provide new arrivals halal, Aussie-made products in supermarkets, specialty shops and smartly in universities. Vili worked with Indigenous people to produce commercial quantities of native wattle seed, lemon myrtle, bush tomatoes to be included in some of his products. Then there was things like the Mega Van, the Cafe de Vili, his sponsorships, along with so many great product innovations. Vili was brave and courageous and wasn't scared to have a go. Witness his victory winning the food rights for the Sydney Olympics, sponsoring the Sydney Swans, much to the chagrin of the AFL. This festival centre, countless sporting clubs, festivals in South Australia, arts bodies and much, much more. Pre the current international inconvenience the world is enjoying at the moment, Vili's products could be found in 24 countries throughout the world. Vili would often say to me, Andrew, in life and in business, your name is everything. You say it, you show it, you advertise it, you promote it, but above all, you defend it. He spent 7.5 years and $1 million demonstrating that point. Vili's custard Berliner bun did not cause a salmonella outbreak, and the High Court of Australia agreed. Vili was adamant customers were happy to pay a higher price for a better product, a quality product. Further, a higher priced product gave the retailer more margin, so the consumer wins, the retailer wins, the manufacturer wins, everybody wins. Discounting your margin to gain greater retail distribution, like so many manufacturers do in Australia, was silly, according to Vili, spoken by Killy. It's a gift, isn't it? There you go. That lesson wasn't lost on me, and I was happy to abide by Vili's rule regarding charging a higher price. And Vili and Rosemary were happy to pay, often in 7 days, with a cheque and a box of pies and pasties for the staff, personally delivered by Rosemary. For a fledgling company like ours was at the time, this was wonderful. And as Vili would have said, we all won. As an aside, about the same time, we picked up Cooper's Brewery. You imagine that? You could have free pies and free beer. Word spread like wildfire. We had people knocking down our door for jobs. For a fledgling company, these were neither the hungry nor the thirsty years. I was amazed to learn about the boards and advisory bodies Vili served on. In '94, as was mentioned, he won the Ethnic Business of the Year. He advised our state government on export, youth employment, transport, and an organisation called DOME, Don't Overlook Mature Experience. He was also an advisor to the Reserve Bank of Australia for 2 terms. Vili's business model to this day is on the curriculum of the Macquarie University. Not bad for a kid who left school when he was 14 because he had to help feed his family. Ladies and gentlemen, am I allowed to say that anymore? I don't know. Persons one and all, I would like to thank the Premier and the Government for this event. The state recognition of Vili is justified at so many levels, including the business level. So thank you, Premier Marshall and your government. And I'm sure Rosemary and the family appreciate this gesture as well. In life and in business, Vili was a force of nature. When we have our next cyclone, perhaps we could call it Cyclone Vili. Vili's passing, along with that of the Duke of Edinburgh, got me to thinking, what might happen if they met at the pearly gates? What would they say to each other? Now, Your Excellency, I don't want you dobbing me into anyone, right? Perhaps, the conversation might go something like this. Hello, I'm the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Nice to meet you, sir. I am Vili Milisits, the Prince of Pies, Pasties and Flaky Pastry. Vili loved to perform. The Café de Vili was his stage and he did a great job. As I leave this stage, I think it's only fair that I show you something that was done for Vili some years ago, and as Graham said, has been modified. I think it's fair that Vili gets to finally perform on the biggest stage in town. Thank you.
What would a bloke called Vili know about rap music?
Turn the pie upside down, turn the pie upside down. If it hasn't got a V, it ain't me. If it hasn't got a V.
Vili, you are the baker for me. Why don't you tell me what really makes a Vili?
Vegetables is what I'm about. Flaky pastry is what I'm about. Vegetables is what I'm about. Potato, onions is what I'm about. Machine can't taste. Chunks of onions, chunks of bacon, chunks of potato, chunks of vegetables, chunks of Vili, chunks of V, chunks of Vili, chunks of flaky pastry.
Vili, you are the baker for me. Why don't you tell me what really makes a Vili?
Vegetables is what I'm about. Flaky pastry.
Yeah, but now I want to see the unedited version. Thanks, Andrew. As you said, Vili employed South Australians. He promoted South Australia wherever he went, but he had also a great reach into international markets. Vili's family bakery exported to 24 countries, including Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, England, Scotland and Ireland. We've got a special guest all the way from London. Would you welcome Mr. Bill Muirhead, our London-based Agent General for South Australia, to the stage?
Thank you. This is, for me, a great honour, and I feel quite inspired by a lot of the things I've seen, because I first met Vili in London about 15 years ago, and we got on immediately, straight away. That was probably because of my addiction to his pies. So we chatted away, and I had this brilliant idea, because my background, a bit like Andrew's, is in the selling and advertising business, and I had this brilliant idea that Vili loved. It was, I wanted to make the pie the symbol of our state. So I wanted to have a giant pie, rather like Queensland have got a pineapple. Why shouldn't we just have, a giant pie? And so we sketched one up, but as I said, Vili loved it, and that's one that's in the works. Now, he and I reminisced about homesickness, because that was something I felt very strongly, having lived away for such a long time. And the thing I missed most about Adelaide and about Australia, comfort food, was the pie. Now, I suspect not many of you will know that the Hungarian comfort food is something called langos. And langos is, it's a bit like a deep-fried pizza without the topping. So imagine how lucky we were. Now, one of the big things, obviously, I missed was a proper pie, and you could not get a proper pie in England until Vili arrived. And when he did, you still couldn't get one because people kept stealing them. And at our first South Australia Club event at Australia House, we had about 100 very distinguished guests and members, paying members, and we had 1,000 Vili's pies, party pies they were. It's 10 each, right? Well, they were just gone. And we also had the traditional posh canopies like lark's tongues in aspic and, weird things like that, which were left to the side. But the rush to fill people's handbags and coat pockets was appalling. And I know that Rosemary and Alison witnessed that at one of our events in Australia House. So I did actually see somebody putting party pies in their handbag, and I couldn't quite believe it, because I thought, anyway, that became a certainty. Now, one thing I'd like to do is tell you a short story from London about someone else who sadly recently passed away, and that was someone that Andrew mentioned already, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, and it relates to Vili's. Because some years ago, an enterprising group of South Australians managed to salvage the sister ship of the Cutty Sark from the bottom of the River Clyde up in Scotland. And she had originally been launched in Sunderland in England in 1864 as the City of Adelaide, but the name had been changed. And I didn't know that there's a huge amount of superstition and ancient tradition around the renaming of ships. So when I was told this, I thought, well, let's give the occasion some kind of gravitas. So why don't we get the Duke of Edinburgh to come and do the renaming ceremony down at Greenwich on the River Thames? And he agreed. And so the salvaged hulk was put on a freighter, sailed down from Scotland and moored in the River Thames opposite the Cutty Sark, the sister, and outside the Royal Naval College for the official renaming ceremony. And everything was wonderful, went to plan, and it was terrific until we came to the reception afterwards, because at most of our events, well, at all of our events, we have Cooper's beer and we have lots of our fine wines, and of course we have Vili's pies. Well, the Duke Prince Philip completely ignored the lineup of dignitaries and headed straight for the Vili's pie cart. And this is where I felt rather upset, because I had photographs of this to show you, but I've been censored by the DPC people here who didn't want me to show you that, because I wanted to prove that what actually happened was he ate one and then he put another one in his pocket. He said that was to eat on the way home. All right. So, Rosemary, I've asked for the royal warrant, which should be featured, I think could be featured on the pies from now on. Now, that was my little story, but I just wanted to say that Vili was a good Samaritan. You know, he was a pioneer, and he was a winner. He was what I'd like to call a great foul-weather friend. His door was always open, he was always ready to advise, and always ready to offer help. And he, for me, was one of those rare people you always felt better after you'd seen than you did before. I think most people try to make themselves happy, but Vili got his happiness from making other people happy. And I'd like to end this now with the opening verse of a poem that was written by Australia's greatest living genius and megastar, Barry Humphries, and it's his ode to a pie. So I think that I could never spy a poem as lovely as a Vili's pie, a banquet in a single course, blushing with rich tomato sauce. Now, when Barry Humphries heard about Vili, he sent an email from London which said, "Desolate news, but at least now there'll be a decent pie in the sky." So like all of you and many, many others, we will miss him. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. I just can't get over the jerk putting the pie in the pocket. That's the sort of thing I'd like to do, but anyway. It is true that Vili had a passion for cakes, but he had a far greater love for his family. He married Rosemary at the age of 20 and built a life with her. Now, Rosemary told me he was my first love and he was my last love, but not my only love. So I'm just trying to work that out. In other words, she made him work for it. He wanted to build a business for his family. His daughter and son are now in the business, as well as his two grandsons. He's built a business for 3 generations and perhaps more generations to come. It is my great pleasure to invite Vili's daughter, Alison, to the stage. Alison.
Vilmos Milisits was born in 1948, the 8th and last child of Teresa and Istvan Milisits, in a small village on the border of Hungary and Austria. Dad was brought up on a farm with his siblings and attended the local village school. He was a keen learner and developed his business skills early in life by bartering his time for extra rations. His father Istvan was absent in his early years, as he'd been a political prisoner under the Nazi regime and then later also sent to a work camp under communist rule. At the tender age of 8, his entire family fled Hungary on foot during the 1956 uprising, fleeing with only their clothes, their papers, and a feather quilt that Dad plucked the geese to fill, which we still have. They registered with the Red Cross at the border and became refugees. They moved around as no countries wanted more post-war immigrants. They moved from Austria to England and then to Italy. The conditions were not ideal. Dinner was sometimes a piece of bread and a cup of cocoa. Bathing was only allowed once a week, and Vili attended a school in London but struggled with not knowing a word of English. He loved maths because it was the same in every language. After 2 years of living as a refugee, there was residency available in Australia. The family knew very little and based their entire decision on the fact it was a huge continent island, so there wouldn't be fights over borders. They were sent to Italy and boarded a ship from Trieste, bound for Melbourne, with a condition of entry that they settle in Adelaide. Dad's first memory of Adelaide was arriving by train and seeing the Boer War horse statue at the front of the governor's residence and thinking, wow, he'd arrived into a big city. They rented a one-bedroom house in Carrington Street where 16 of them resided, and Dad slept under the kitchen table. The older siblings went to work, and Dad attended St. Joseph's Primary at Hectorville. Dad became a master at artichoke harvesting, as this was the detention punishment at the time. The family soon pooled their money with 3 other families and bought a deceased estate in Stepney. All 4 families lived there until they paid it off and then sold it and used their portion to put a deposit on land out in Campbelltown. They built 4 houses side by side, identical, and lived tight-knit. We always referred to it as Milisitsville or Eat Street at Campbelltown. Dad then attended Campbelltown High until he was 14, where he was voted least likely to succeed. His father was sick and passed away, and his mother sent him out to do an apprenticeship as a pastry cook. He worked at Kazzie's Cakes at Burnside, and once qualified, he leased some equipment from Kazzie and sold his car to purchase his first week of ingredients and started Vili's. His first bakery was located at Beulah Park on Fullerton Road. He'd met Rosemary as a teenager at a friend's birthday party, and they'd started dating. Dad would frequently drop cakes for all the nurses at Wakefield Memorial Hospital, where Mum was a live-in nurse. From then, the relationship grew, and in '68 they married and started a family. Dad found a house in Mile End South where he built a bakery in our backyard and where the family bakery is still located today. Dad did everything for family. He was an incredible husband, father, grandfather, and friend to many. Dad had many interests and hobbies and was fiercely competitive in business and life. He had an immense love for his family, but fishing was a close second, and he continued that throughout his life. He played competition grade for Hellas West Adelaide soccer. He played league 10-pin bowling for over 30 years. He loved tennis and took it up in his 40s and enjoyed playing socially. He loved camping and the simple things in life, exploring the entirety of Australia in the car, on road trips, or with the Variety Club bash. He wholeheartedly believed he lived in the best place in the world. He had a passion for South Australia as it had the best food, wine, scenery, and lifestyle on offer. He once offered, whilst guest speaking, to pay a one-way ticket to anyone who thought otherwise. He never returned to his birth country of Hungary. Dad was a worker. He had endless energy when it came to improving and providing for his family and the lives of others. He'd been hungry and lived in poverty before and swore he'd never do either again. He was a man of integrity and commitment, and he was all in, even if it was at his own detriment. He was an extremely positive person. He seized the day with his trademark Cheshire Cat smile and infectious laugh. Dad may have only fathered 2 children in his life, but he has been a father role and mentor to many more. He was a man who had a lot to give, a lot of love to give, and knowledge and guidance to share. A man of many words, who was passionate about life. He was gentle, humble, patient, caring, and always helpful. He was a people person and always the life of the party. Dad was a doer, a man who will never wonder what if, because he did everything he put his mind to. He dreamed big, achieved higher, and never accepted no for an answer. He challenged himself and others to reach their full potential and saw the best in people. He trained and has 2 generations to take on his legacy and carry on his dream and life's work. He was a truly remarkable and generous person who overcame many obstacles in life to be the best person I've ever had the privilege of knowing. He fought for everything he believed in till his last breath with tenacity and dignity, and he leaves the world a better place for having had him. He was the whole package, the real deal, a living legend, an icon. I will always miss him. I love you, Dad.
I was 17 and Vili was 18 when we first met at a birthday party. It wasn't love at first sight, but we dated for 3 years and were married for 53 years. It was definitely a love match, and we had the same values and goals all through our life. Vili always said we were a good partnership. We were as poor as church mice, but for my birthday, as a special treat, we went to see Fiddler on the Roof at Her Majesty's. His entertainment experience up until then was going to the pictures on a Wednesday night, which was ranch night, and to go and see a John Wayne movie. It was the first time Vili had ever been to see live theatre, and he sat there enthralled. It was the beginning of a love of performing arts that lasted his whole life. We often went to live performances, opera, musicals, and have used our house for many big parties over 35 years. With over 500 people on the lawn and with another 150 hanging over the front fence, it's been a set for 11 movies, some of which have won awards. And for 18 years, it was used for students from the conservatorium for performances, practice and exams. The cost to the performers was 2 old people sitting at the back of the room with me singing quietly and Vili humming along or singing out of tune with made-up words. He was tone deaf and sang out of tune, but it didn't stop him from enjoying the music. When we came to the Festival Theatre, we always had this box where we could see and wave to our friends. Apart from good food and wine, his other passion was fishing. He was mad about fishing and would go out in his boat in the mist and stay out all day, returning in the evening, mostly with a full catch of fish. Once up the river at Blanchetown, he got onto a school of redfin and caught a trailer load, covered it with ice and heavy canvas, and took it to the marketplace, where he traded the fish for cream cheese. The fish was smoked and the cream cheese made cheese strudel for the week. He never overlooked a good deal. Vili brought a whole shipment of tinned cherries that no one wanted, as Morello cherries were quite tart, but perfect for Black Forest torts. The tins lined the walls of the old house at the bakery, and we walked sideways down the hallway. Simon and Alison were warned not to jump around too much because of the weight on the floorboards. Vili thought we would have had a cave-in. Again, another tidy profit. Our life together was full of calculated risk-taking, and with careful planning, it almost always worked out. We believe that when you are right, you fight, which we did for 7.5 years to clear our good name. In Adelaide, your name is everything, and we've been so proud to be awarded many honours. He was recently elevated to a Knight of Justice by the Knights Hospitallers. It was very humbling. He faced his illness with the same determination that he had in business. With help from our wonderful friends, he never gave up and persevered with the exercise program and maintained his weight while undergoing the multitude of tests required for transplant. He had a wonderful support base led by our friend Pauline, who, instead of traipsing through Europe, became his full-time carer, and his godson John, who researched and wrote letters to university hospitals all over the world. COVID put an end to overseas, but thanks to Frank Pangello, who spoke to Marshall Plitt, Director of Cardiothoracic Transplants, Dr. James Asimakopoulos, Dr. Andrew Scroop, Dr. Michael Stokes and Dr. Peter Soltis, they encouraged Vili and never gave up on him. They never gave up on him. St Vincent's Hospital took Vili on, saying he deserved a chance. I particularly thank Dr. Monique Malouf, Director of the lung transplant team, and surgeon Dr. Paul Jantz. He had a successful transplant, but was very frail and passed 4 days later with us all by his side. He was the best husband, father, grandfather and friend anyone could ever have. It was on my birthday, just before he went to Sydney. He wrote a birthday card for me and it said, "I will love you forever."
Wow. It's just a little bit hard to follow. Now, we've heard today you couldn't find a prouder Australian than Vili. He always said he was Hungarian by birth, but Australian by choice. It's fitting now that we enjoy the iconic Australian song, "I Am Australian." Now, Rosemary says you have to sing. But we might leave it to the experts.
I came from the dream time, from the dusty red soil plains. I am the ancient heart, the keeper of the flame. I stood upon the rocky shores, I watched the tall ships come. For 40,000 years I've been the first Australian.
I came upon the prison ship, bound down by iron chains. I bought the land, endured the lash, I waited for the rains.
I'm a settler, I'm a farmer's wife, on a dry and barren run. A convict, then a free man, I became Australian. I'm the daughter of a digger who sought the mother lode. The girl became a woman on the long dusty road.
I'm the child of the Depression, I'm a bushy times come. I'm a bushy, I'm a battler,
I am Australian.
We are one, but we are many, and from all the lands on earth we come. We share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, you're Australian. I'm a teller of stories, I'm a singer of songs. I am Albert Namatjira, and I paint the ghostly gums. I'm Clancy on his horse, I'm Ned Kelly on the run. I'm the one who waltzed Matilda, I am Australian.
I'm a hot wind from the desert, I'm the black soil of the plains. I'm the mountains and the valleys, I'm the drought and flooding rains. I am the rock, I am the sky, the rivers when they run. The spirit of this great land,
I am Australian. We are one, but we are many.
Man, how happy am I?
South Australians have backed me so well. I'm just thanking everybody. I love you all.
And from all the lands on earth we come, we share a dream and sing with one voice. I am, you are, we are Australia.
Well, that was magnificent. Who teared up? I didn't. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That brings to a close the formalities for this state memorial service. The name Vili is everywhere. I'm sure we've all eaten his products. We see them, we eat them, we love them, and I know we'll continue to do so. And every time you visit the cafe, just remember that unique character with the infectious laugh. So on behalf of Rosemary and Vili's family, we thank you all for attending, and we invite you to move out to the foyer for some mini Vilis. But don't pinch any. Another hand for the... Thank you.